Well, it's official. I freaking love you all. I adore you. I worship you because it's Tuesday, and usually today we're sitting together reading some interesting comments that you left on my review of the last From episode. But today you didn't write only some interesting ideas and theories. You were able to find so many interesting things that I didn't notice when I was making the review, so I decided that today's video is gonna be focused on that. And the main reason why I freaking love you so much is that the first comments we're gonna discuss today are actually talking about a car, Miranda's car, that Tabitha had seen in her vision while Miranda was driving through Fromville, and I was so furious and upset when I was making a review, thinking that the creators made such a blatant mistake, without any consideration to us, the viewers, when we notice so many different little things, and I thought they neglected this, and they basically made a horrible mistake. But luckily, thank God, no. We have a comment here from Brutus Hayes saying that Miranda was driving Christopher's Hornet in the flashback. And we also have a comment from Leonardo Fitzer. I watched a Spanish YouTuber's video in which it explained that the car in which Miranda comes to the town is actually the car from Christopher, mentioned in Season 2. The brand in the glove box is the same as displayed in the plate of Christopher's car. It seems to me an interesting idea to keep digging. Well, hell yeah, of course it's interesting. Honestly, I still don't know what it means, but the possibilities here are countless. Now, think about this. My first impression, by the way, was, okay, there's no freaking way. And then I checked, and it regularly is. Christopher car is the AMC Hornet, and this is exactly what Miranda is driving, as we can see on the dashboard of the car. So how can you explain this? Obviously, it's not random, right? It's something they plan to do. So it's supposed to have some kind of an explanation. Now, actually, there is an interesting idea. TK Omar is writing here, if we are to believe that the story is a cycle and plays the same way each time, then perhaps, like Tabitha, Miranda was also pushed out of the lighthouse and returned briefly to the real world. This would explain why Miranda was shown arriving in a different car alone. She arrived initially with Victor and Eloise in one car, pushed out of the lighthouse and returned alone in another car, her obviously still in Fromville. So why, if it's actually the case, she would still come back in Christopher's car? I mean, Victor is very unreliable narrator, memory guy. He's not remembering everything clearly, but he actually told that this is Miranda's car and this is Christopher's car. And actually, it's kind of confirmed since Tabitha is getting the vision, Miranda's vision, when she is approaching Miranda's car, according to Victor. So it's already a little bit weird, it's already something that I cannot really explain, but there's obviously some kind of story behind it. Now, right now, I'm just super excited and happy that this is not a fuck-up. Okay, I was so upset about this, I was thinking to myself, how is it even possible to make such a blunt mistake? It's horrible mistake, because this is not such a, you don't need to be focused or, really watching everything and trying to find everything with a magnifying glass. You can clearly see that those cars are different, they're not the same. And now that we get a confirmation that this is something that was planned, right? It's not there by mistake, it makes me happy, and it returns my confidence and belief in the creators that they actually can deliver us some interesting answer to those questions. And as I said in my previous review of episode 7, they definitely didn't film this scene and they brought the actress and created all of this setup just to show us only a second and a half of it. There's gonna be more, probably in episode 9 or 10. As I said in my previous video, I really need to pick up your brains in this area. Like, I really need to know what else can you think about this. Because when we were talking about this just a couple of days ago, when episode 7 was only released, we didn't still know that this is actually Christopher's car. And this is very interesting. Now, my mind is taking me right now somewhere to the direction of, Miranda and Christopher maybe having an affair of some sort, because, Jade, technically he's a reincarnation of Christopher and Tabitha is a reincarnation of Miranda, and now we know that original Jade and original Tabitha, they used to be a couple and they had a child that they used to sing lullabies, etc, etc. So maybe in every cycle they actually, start to hit it off at some point. And Christopher and Miranda are also somehow actually connected. Is it possible that Miranda is not even their mother, not Victor's mother and Eloise? Because we can see that Christopher car, it's not a two-seater, but it definitely doesn't look like a family car. I don't know. Once again, there can be so many different possibilities here in explanation, so I need to see where your fantasies is taking you. Where is your imagination taking you now with this information? Why Miranda was driving Christopher's car? Is it possible that she was doing something similar to Acosta maybe? You know, she arrived in the car, in her original car that we have seen, and then she started to go insane and she took Christopher's car and started to drive around the town. Everything is a possibility here. There can be a lot of different scenarios here. So as I told you, use your imagination, write it in the comments. I would more than love to read what you think about this. And once again, for the 100th time, yay! I'm so happy they didn't fuck up. I'm so happy that this is deliberate, that this is planned, and this is part of the story. Yeah, another interesting comment I have here on my phone from Touchdown Moscow. Thank you so much for videos. I watch them both in English and Russian. One thing I noticed that you didn't mention when talking about New York's importance. So in the device, when Boyd is flipping the pictures, we see two different pictures of New York. One features the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, hence it's taken pre-2001 and potentially can be decades old. Another picture taken from the helicopter is modern-day New York, and that has a new World Trade Center built near the ground zero. That picture could not have been there originally, as it must have been taken in 2010s. How did it get there? Your videos reiterated that New York is important, also given that the author John Griffin came up with the idea of the show after his flight was diverted to Canada on 9/11. I wonder if it has some big significance. Yes, John Griffin talked a couple of times about basically coming up with the idea about From after his experience of 9/11, terroristic attack, which basically took off the Twin Towers. And one thing that he said is basically this common experience from everybody on United States. It doesn't matter what town you're from, what state you're from, everybody pretty much felt the same. Something that was so stable that you all thought it's gonna be, standing there forever, suddenly it's taken out. And this feeling of instability, of this danger that it's somewhere out there and it can happen to you at any moment and you're not going to be able to prepare for it anyhow, this is something that brought him to this idea of people coming from different places in the United States, all united by the same experience in one town where there is always some kind of an imminent danger. So once again, now that we know, and thanks to you so much for noticing this, is that in the master viewer there are two images, one New York before 9/11 and one of New York after. So the master viewer is obviously an old toy. It already doesn't make any sense for it to have an image from 2010s. Once again, is it just some kind of a subtle wink? Just to remind us, the fans, that this is how it started, this is where the idea came from this experience of 9/11 tragedy? Maybe, of course it's possible, but we also spoke about the importance of New York. Once again, Martin is from Millbrook, we have the Jamestown is referenced, we have the suitcase with the New York sticker, maybe even more of it, so thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Thank God for having such interesting subscribers here, such interesting audience that not just, watching my videos, but actually many times more focused and more keen than I, and I'm able to find so many interesting details. You enrich my experience with this TV show, and I hope I do the same with my videos. Yeah, you fucking awesome, and I love you guys and girls. One thing that I kind of want to disprove, I read it many times, for example, user Pov, he's writing a wonderful video, thank you so much, I appreciate this. I'm here to share a thing that I read in other channel, the nurse of Henry's dream is the same actress as the ballerina. So we have also Skullscorp here is writing the doctor in Henry's vision is the ballerina from the music box. It's not the case. You can actually check both of the actresses. Let me open up here screenshots. We have the ballerina is actually played by Michelle Murphy, and the doctor is played by Mallory Emerald. Two different actresses. Maybe they just a little bit look alike. Both of them kind of have the similar bone structure, and that's it. But it's just a coincidence. So this is something that we cannot really make anything out of it. So that's it, let's close this topic and move on to the next one. Now, one thing that really bothered me for a while is that we've been talking about what is even the point of finding the Ankui children's kids' bones, because If it's gonna go the same way as, just a random episode in Supernatural, basically you find in the remains of the spirit and you burn them with salt and suddenly that's it, no more spirit. But once again, in Supernatural, it's just a random Monster of the Week episode, that's it. Here we're talking about a TV show with 5 seasons with supposedly, hopefully, a very epic culmination of the story. So if it's just gonna be, let's burn the bones, once again, it's kind of hard for me to see how it can be epic, but here we have a very interesting idea by Handy Gramps 5-1. The bones of the children will become a weapon against the monsters. That's why the voodoo dolls had no effect. It was the wrong bones. So the voodoo dolls, it's sharpened and you can use it as a weapon, and you can do the same with bones. And people used to make weapons out of the bones. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. Maybe it's going to be used to kill zombies, or maybe it's going to be used even to kill the man in yellow. I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be used. Maybe this theory doesn't have any relation to what actually is going to happen. Everything is possible. Every theory is obviously has its ups and downs. But I like this idea because at least it just gives weapons to our characters and then a possibility to rise up for the day and do something heroic and kill the man in yellow, etc., and actually fight back and not just, oh my god, bones, let's burn them. Hey, yeah, we victory. So this idea, I like it way more than something that we discussed in my previous videos. Thank you so much. I love the way your brain works. Another thing that I'm still not really sure about it, but once again, let's talk about this for a while, for just a couple of minutes. Just Kim 9827, when Miranda is driving into town and shows the 2 girls standing outside, if you look really closely, the girl on the inside farther away from the car looks like it could be Sophia. The hairstyle and clothes sort of look like her, though to be fair, it's really blurry and hard to see. But I think that's why it's blurry. Tabitha will have that memory again and see Sophia, I hope. Actually possible. Now, the first time I read the comment like this, you missed Sophia, I was like, no, I didn't miss anybody. It's not Sophia. It's just, 2 random girls standing there. Possible, of course. But now that I see the way you're going with it, so if Tabitha is actually suddenly getting a memory of this town in the 70s and she's able to see Sophia, this will give her information that obviously something is wrong with Sophia. If she was still looking the same way like she looks like now 40 years ago, something is wrong. But then again, there is a big but here in this theory. Is it possible then that Victor completely forgot her? Or the man in yellow was so stupid to take a shape form of somebody that Victor is supposedly can remember? So I don't think so. I still think this is just some kind of random girl that was just there, just, some NPC walking around the town, which probably most likely would happen, but still, it's an interesting idea, and if it actually comes true, I think you deserve a hats off and, some claps, etc. Yay, good job, good work. Taya9427 is writing, love your videos, they are making this show more entertaining. Thank you so much, I appreciate this. About Boyd and Martin interaction, as I understood in the beginning, Boyd was talking to the original human Martin, which wanted to die. Who wanted to die didn't want to pass the worms to him. Then music started to play and Martin was rushing Boyd to leave before the music stops. A few moments before the music stopped, Martin started to speak about Boyd's wife, and it's when he saw the worms for the first time. So Martin was possessed, controlled by something at that moment, maybe Man in Yellow, maybe something else. That's why he transferred the worms when the music stopped playing. Also, I noticed that Boyd couldn't hear Julie at that moment. Well, he wasn't supposed to hear Julie at that moment at all, but he kind of supposed to have some kind of understanding of Julie being there when she was talking to Martin, because he was able to hear Martin and he wasn't able to hear her. But also, I kind of like this explanation. I'm not 100% sure that it's actually true, but it would make some sort of a sense, like Martin, and then as soon as we see worms, this is something else. And this something else attacked Boyd and transferred the worms and the blood, So yeah, kind of like the way you think. Let's move on to the next one. So Brianna Davidson 3842, as a practicing witch, I had the same thought about the man in yellow this episode. The bag of teeth and the obvious spell work we see Sophia doing immediately made me think that she's a follower of a larger, more powerful being. It is very reminiscent of traditional witchcraft stories in North America. In many stories, a person makes a pact with dark being in exchange for powers of knowledge. They slowly corrupt the town, the people people, the crops, the very foundation of their community. I was really impressed with how they incorporated real historical witch tropes this episode. As for the drawings in the hospital room, the first thing that came to mind is the Lover's Tarot card and the High Priestess's Tarot card. The Lovers possibly represent Jade and Tabitha, while the High Priestess represents the Man in Yellow. Well, first of all, remind me always to be on Brianna Davidson's good side, okay? She's a practicing witch, so we all love Brianna. Brianna, you're awesome, okay? Never be angry at me. If I do something to upset you, I apologize in advance. I'm kidding, of course. But yeah, thank you so much for this. It's also makes me think that probably I'm moving in the right way here, thinking that Sophia is somehow connected to witches. Maybe she's just practicing something, but definitely doesn't feel like she's the source of evil. I mean, there's supposed to be some kind of a source, right, of magic. What actually makes this true, real? Why the forest is magical? Why it's evil? Why you cannot leave this place? Maybe it's actually all of it was created by Sophia, aka the Man in Yellow, but once again, where is he taking his powers from? Is he a god of some sort? I don't know, but if he is a god or semi-god or whatever, demigod, then why would you need to pray there and do some spells? Once again, I just read so many fantasy books in my life, so it doesn't make sense to me, but it doesn't necessarily have to make sense in the TV show, in From, because it's not actually fantasy. It's more of a horror slash sci-fi fiction, etc., etc. So, I don't know, maybe we're on the right way, but it's definitely good to get a confirmation for your theories from an actual witch. Anyway, moving on, and to the last topic of today. I know this video is way shorter than I usually do my videos because I didn't want to mix this with just some usual comments that I do in my Tuesday videos. I wanted to make those, those findings, those interesting findings that make this sort of not me answering to your comments, but actually a follow-up to review, like everything that you missed. Usually how I call my videos, and this video is basically everything that I missed and you didn't. So yeah, cool. Well, we're gonna discuss Fatima and the Golem, and there are a couple of interesting ideas. First of all, I love the way you think. I would never go that way, and this is why I really enjoy reading your comments, everybody, because Fatima started obsessing about making a golem at the same time she started feeling with feeling what Smiley feels, sorry. I wonder if this is a hint that they're building something down there with the body parts they steal from people. I think it would be very interesting, but I don't think so, because we have seen the Man in Yellow actually eating the organs. But yeah, if they're building a Frankenstein monster there, it would be funny, interesting, probably creepy. Just a comment that I wanted to share, because there's more about Fatima and Smiley, Fatima and the Golem. So let's talk about Fatima and the Golem. From Dual said here, I think we already got an answer about the Golem. From how the camera was placed, I got an impression that the Golem is not meant to be breathed into life. Fingers crossed. Hope, yes, that this is actually what's gonna happen. I too also think that the producers can execute it well. I think the Golem is a catalyst for Fatima to be a Golem. She needed the mold it to realize her ability and prove that she can protect the people from Smiley. It's like she needs to be in front of the Golem for the vision to materialize the person she's trying to protect and embody Smiley. Yeah, like, she was making a golem for him to be a champion for the people, to protect them. And now that she has those powers, she can actually be the champion. She is the champion that's gonna protect everybody. Hopefully, if she's gonna be able, even transfer this ability not only to Smiley, but to every Frombi, to every monster who's walking there, that will be very interesting and very good ability for you to actually go to the caves and find those bones, those Ankui children bones. So another thing that we have about Fatima and Smiley, yeah, it looks like everything that Smiley will go through, she will be affected too. So let's say Smiley gets shredded or stopped, she definitely will physically feel it, and that's so scary. Probably not gonna happen, because people say that, Fatima, she fell down when Smiley was dropped down by our Giga Chat Sexy Kenny. Probably just because she was looking through his eyes and then she felt unstable. Like I have those times when I'm sleeping or I'm just laying on my bed and suddenly it feels like I'm falling. Like there's something like this and I'm like, oh, like that's it. And this is probably what happened with Fatima. Because if she would actually feel everything that Smiley feels, she would feel the push, she would feel a big pain after the drop. I don't know if you ever fell from the bus. It's not a pleasant experience. Don't do this. Kids, don't do this at home. Don't fall from the bus. Okay, but then she would probably scream from pain at this situation. So I don't think she exactly feels whatever he feels. She will feel the pain, and if somebody, like takes Smiley's head off, suddenly Fatima head will fall down also. Hope not, because then, her ability is not that useful as we thought. So what do you think about all this? Yes, this week we're not talking for an hour and a half as I'm usually doing here while I'm talking to you about your comments. Yes, tomorrow I'm gonna be making a video about everybody's origin story, Donna, Matthew's family, etc, etc, everybody. Hopefully it's gonna be ready tomorrow because it's gonna take a while to edit this. But yeah, so more from content is coming, and tomorrow is Widow's Bay, and if the episode is gonna have enough information for me to make a review. Also, the review of episodes 8 and 9 coming up too. So thank you all so much for watching. I enjoyed your comments this week way more than usual. I usually enjoy them a lot, but this time you were so sharp. You were finding so many interesting things. Thank you so much. You did better what I'm doing right now. Usually I'm doing, the reviews, and a lot of you did better than I do for something that I try to do professionally. So hats off to you. You're fucking awesome. I love you all, and I'm gonna all see you in the next one. And meanwhile, bye.